intellectual reason.
I can give you a reason why I'm a Christian.
No, I don't need a reason why you're Christian. I need a reason as to why you're not Muslim.
I'm not Muslim because I don't believe in your doctrines, in the Islamic doctrines.
Well, no shit. So why don't you believe that?
Because the doctrines in the Quran and the doctrines that are being I don't want to. Okay, let me use the word preached by Muhammad, or the doctrines that were passed on from Muhammad. To me, is very inhumane, and
Okay. What is inhumane about what the Prophet
it's very
taught?
inhumane because it doesn't really preach forgiveness. It preaches violence and
Good.
and other things that I feel like is very perverted and very delusional. So that
Okay,
is
can
the
I get
reason why I'm
can I get a
Muslim.
primary example as to what is leading you to believe this? Guys, you guys got to
Okay, for
100K likes
example,
quick. Let's keep liking.
I have like quite some of the examples, and I feel like literally a lot of Christians talk about this. So one of the examples I have is the fact that in Islam, like in the Quran, it says that Muhammad got married to a young girl, and secondly, I have a very big reason too about Muhammad actually claiming that in heaven there's 72 virgins in heaven waiting for every man. Is that in the Quran?
Doesn't say that. It doesn't say that.
Though? So
it's not in the Quran. It's not in the Hadith. Doesn't even say. Okay.
So tell me what does it say?
So Candy. 1 second. Just stop. Halt. Pause. Thank you for the flowers. Barakallah feek. Candy, listen to me. So the Prophet marrying a young girl, right? And that's an of you, right? But that you believe.
That is very inhumane.
Can I show you this in the Old Testament?
Okay, so it's just a question. I asked you a second question.
I know your question. Listen,
okay,
I don't believe
wait a minute.
Candy, you wait a minute. I
want to say something. I just want to say something before you continue. We're not fighting, okay? We're just having a conversation.
Okay.
So, let me tell you something.
Okay.
I asked a question about the, you're saying that the 72 virgins in heaven is not real. Is it real or not? Yes or no?
I believe it's real, but I believe that's completely normal. Bro, I can ask for 1,000 virgins.
Thank you. So if I
believe that's a good thing.
Virgins waiting for a man in heaven, are they going to be
not every man? It's specifically the martyrs, shuhada.
Exactly, because that is what fuels.
And that's base. That's amazing. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Why would a God want an orgy in heaven, basically?
La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. May Allah guide you. Thank you for the gift, akhi. Barakallahu feek.
Oh, hey, what's going on?
Hello, sir. Are you a Christian?
So I have taken my shahada, but I still claim my Christian identity as well. So I
Oh no. We gotta get rid of that, man. We gotta make sure that ID becomes void by right now. What's going on?
I mean, this is where I was a Christian first, so I had already accepted, Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I then came to, understanding being a Muslim, and then, Islam and stuff like that. So I've accepted the revelations and teachings and stuff like that come from Islam. But
there you go.
I believe I'm a chaplain. So it's my duty to, hear parishioners from all walks of faith and stuff like that, so.
So what is stopping you from accepting Islam fully and rejecting that Jesus is God, because God cannot become man?
Now here's where, let me ask you this, Apex. May I call you Apex?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. So to me, when I personally say, and Allah knows best, Jesus is God, I'm referring to 1 John 4 verse 8. Are you familiar with that one? Where it just says God is love. I'm sorry?
Oh, okay. God is love?
Yeah, where just 1 John 4:8 just explains, God is love, and anybody who abides in love abides in God. And, it just explains it simply like that. So to me, Jesus being God, the Son of God, I think of it in that context. He is the.
But as a Muslim, you cannot believe Jesus is God.
No, I don't think he's the creator of everything like that. I never ever in my life fell into that Trinity doctrine. I never went to any
So in what sense is he God? When you say he's God, what does that denote? What does that mean?
When in 1 John 4, chapter 8, when it says, like this is what Jesus like accomplished, he fulfilled. He showed that, like God, the only way that we as human beings can ever see or understand God is to like abide in love and understand like love and stuff like that. Does that make sense? Like Jesus,
Yeah, but I don't understand how you believe Jesus is God. It's not reaching me.
because God is love. Jesus is love.
So
Therefore,
Jesus,
God, if like we have to single out the word God and get
what?
a common understanding of what we're talking about when we use this word God. Just like when we
But you
go to
understand,
Christians and ask them, I'm sorry,
you understand you cannot be a Muslim if you say that Jesus is God, right?
even if I'm referring to God being love, not Allah.
We don't believe God is love.
See, so that maybe this is where maybe I should try to bring you into Christianity. So the only
Absolutely
one
not. Wait, we
intentionally.
believe no, no, no. We believe God is loving. We don't believe God is
Okay,
love
okay, yeah, God
in and
is
of
loving,
himself.
but I as a Christian, like, when I read the Quran and said, see Allah as the most loving, most merciful, and all that stuff, I can understand that because of my faith in Jesus Christ. So if
But you're not
Jesus
a
is this
Muslim
kind
though,
of,
respectfully. Your shahada is invalid if you believe Jesus is God and that God is love.
oh really? Okay, okay. I mean, hey, I'll
Absolutely, yeah,
accept that critique,
absolutely.
and like I said, Allah knows best, and I will accept that on my judgment day. I will fully take my part in it, but I'm gonna stand by that, and that's
Bro, your
my.
part is gonna be if you believe Jesus is God, your part's gonna be eternal hellfire, bro.
Well, hey, like I said, God is love, so Jesus is love. When I say Jesus is God, I am saying Jesus is love.
What does that mean that Jesus is love?
What does it mean that Allah is the most loving?
That means that he loves conditionally and that he loves more than anything else. That's what it means.
Okay, so there you go.
Then Jesus is not most loving because then he would be God and he's not God.
He was like the most loving human being before the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them both, on earth for his time. Like his time,
Oh,
the
okay,
lost
then I
sheep of
don't. Okay,
Israel.
okay, okay, okay. I don't have an issue with you saying that he was the most loving human at his
Okay,
time. I don't have
okay.
an issue with
So
that.
I apologize for that. I forgive me for that. Habibi, forgive me for that. I apologize that I didn't clarify it clearer
You're
with that
good.
extra word.
You're
Okay,
good.
so if I say
You're good.
it that way, it would be more like
But that wouldn't make him God though.
I'm not saying that makes him like Allah. Like I understand like the
Okay,
Muslims
I understand what you're
like
saying. Jesus is God in the sense that he is love, meaning he's the most loving individual during his time.
right. He was like the most loving, as you said, human being of our entire human history. And then after him came the prophet who was also loving and merciful and all that stuff. He's not the most merciful, but he is like the most merciful like leader or human being, whatever, of his time in his area, who have now influenced like the idea of what it means to be like a merciful, loving leader and stuff like that.
Okay.
Jesus never had to go to war. Jesus never had to get married and have children. So it's like, like I look at the Prophet Muhammad as being like the like grown up version of like what would Jesus have done if he had to do all these, if he, didn't
Yeah, so
ascend to
listen.
God.
So we would refrain from predicating the word God unto Jesus, right? We wouldn't say that Jesus is God, right? We don't say that, right? We would just say that Jesus Christ is a loving individual, which is not God and which is totally separate from God, right? Because when you claim that Jesus is God by identity, then we're gonna have an issue here, right? We're not gonna say that he is God in the sense that we're not gonna say that. We're gonna say that Jesus is a prophet, right? He's a prophet, right? But I understand where you're coming from, and this is a very conflicting matter, even in Islam, right? So we're not gonna say that Jesus is God in the sense that he's love. No, we don't even believe Jesus is love. We believe Jesus is a loving individual. Being love and being loving is different. Being love is a statement of identity because you're identifying yourself as love, right? That's like saying that it's not like saying someone's nice, right? It's like saying someone is anger, right? Someone cannot just be anger. Someone's angry. Someone has anger. We wouldn't say that Jesus is identical to love. We wouldn't say that. Absolutely not. Guys, let's get to 200,000 likes, inshallah. Let's get to 500 shares in the next 10 minutes. You guys are doing it quick. You guys are smashing it. Go ahead, Chaplain.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. And I understand. I mean, you're a young man, but you are very wise and like in your knowledge of
Thank
everything
you.
that.
Appreciate
And
it.
I've seen you just kind of like debate Christians who also throw the Quran and all the flaws that they see in it, and it's always the same thing. And as a chaplain, like I said, like I'm just trying to just have an interfaith like discussion. Like the
Cool.
beauty of both religions so that we can understand each other. Just to give you
Okay.
some background, like yesterday, I was on a live panel with a bunch of Muslim brothers and sisters who I told them, like, I'm a Muslim or a Muslim or something like that. And they were like, oh, and they also kind of your response. But, they told me the opposite, where I was like, I took my Shahada, and they just said, okay, so you're a revert. And I'm a new revert. I took my Shahada December 13th. Last year,
No,
so,
no, 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 no.
but you tell me right away that I took a fake Shahada, right? My Shahada was false or something like that.
Your
So this
Shahada
is-
is invalid, yes.
or is not valid. Okay. So yeah, it's just like, either way, like you have your perspective and then, like I had these other witnesses give me a whole nother perspective. So again, this is
Yeah,
like
but I'm giving you evidences as to why you cannot be a Muslim. Your Shahada is void if you're saying that you're a Christian or you're a Muslim, whatever that is. Like, because you cannot be a Christian and a Muslim at the same time. They are mutually exclusive, meaning they are contradictory. They cannot be both true at the same time. It is impossible. Do you believe Jesus was crucified?
I do.
Then you're not a Muslim. You're a kafir. So now you have to believe that Jesus Christ, to be a Muslim, you must believe he is not crucified. You must believe that he was absolutely safe from the crucifixion. Right? This is the point. To be a Christian, you must believe he's crucified. And if you don't believe he's crucified, you're not a Christian. And if you're a Muslim, you must believe he wasn't crucified. And if you believe otherwise, you're not a Muslim. So it's just two contradictory beliefs.
No, see, you just have these prerequisites that you just can't get past. So let me see
Of
if I
course,
can maybe
of course,
break your
of course.
maybe your programming. Like I understand this is your encoding that you've been programmed with. So
I'm programmed. I'm not a robot.
oh, give me a second. If you want,
But-
no. I mean, our minds are like computers. So I mean, like I said, I'm beyond a chaplain. I do a lot of scientific like research theories and stuff like that. So honestly, Islamic, like maybe you should ask me a personal question just against the sense of who I am. Rather than just kind of just like just
that's
throwing
fine,
fingers
that's fine.
and pointing stuff like that.
That's fine. But I'm telling you that you're not a Muslim because you believe Christ was crucified. You can't believe that. There's a consensus amongst the...
Christ was crucified. Now let me ask you this, because when I read that was the beauty of like the revelations that I read in the Quran that really, like you guys, and I mean, there are like Muslims who just believe that the crucifixion never happened, that he was saved and taken up to Allah, and that whatever the people saw, getting crucified, that wasn't him, right? It was a delusion, right? That's what you believe, right? That's what you accept.
There you go. That is correct.
So if that were the case, right? Because I believe something different, that Allah took his spirit, his soul, and that's how he was saved from the crucifixion. So the body was just like an empty vessel that was being punished and stuff like that, but it wasn't.
No, that is
the
wrong.
spirit.
No. Jesus bodily went up.
So his entire body went up, and then so you don't believe the resurrection ever happened, that his body just went up and people saw him go up, or what? Tell me what your understanding of the crucifixion story in front of Pontius Pilate.
My understanding
all
is that
stuff.
Jesus Christ was not crucified. He actually went up bodily, and that people thought that he was crucified because God made it appear that he was crucified.
Okay, so expand on that. How did he make it appear?
I don't know. He could have done it by putting somebody else on the cross. There's many other ways he could have done it.
So you have no answer, right? So what?
I just gave you an answer. Are you serious? I just told you that there's many different ways, and of them is that God could have put somebody else on the cross and made it appear that it was Jesus.
So who is that other person?
I don't know. Why do I need to know that?
Because you don't believe in the crucifixion, like
I know.
So you're saying that the entire section of Matthew, the gospel, the 4 chapters about the Pontius Pilate like story of where, he's put on trial and all the crowd says, crucify him, and, like free the.
That could have happened. That could have happened. But they thought it was Jesus, but it wasn't.
Okay. So you're saying this person on stage was like a doppelganger or something like that, right? Jesus at this time had already gone up.
So you could sort of say it was a doppelganger. Yeah, if that happened, that you could consider a quote unquote doppelganger. But we don't know who was on the cross. If there was somebody on the cross.
Okay. I'm just listening to you. Like this is new to me. So let me ask you. So you do concede that Isa was taken up, ascended at this point, right? Like he's off the earth, up in.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so this person who, after all that, so after Jesus prays in the wilderness to be like saved, and it says, like an angel.
I don't know.
Down.
I don't know if that happened. I don't know if that happened. That could be the case.
Okay, I mean, like, are you? So then you're saying that the whole thing about so then what about the people who saw him come back after this doppelganger was crucified and dead? This is when Allah sends Isa back down to say, "Hey, I'm still alive."
No. I believe that that's a fabrication.
You believe that? So what did the prophet Isa do in your mind? Like, what was his life all about? Like, what was he here to do?
Preaching the religion of Islam and guiding his ummah.
Okay, so how did he preach the religion of Islam? By just saying, serve. So how did he preach the religion of Islam in your mind?
He preached the Injil, i.e. the revelation that he got from God.
Okay, can you give me like just a specific to start with?
What do you mean?
Obviously he said, serve the one and only true God, right? Allah, right?
Yeah, of
and
course.
Then he also
that's in the Quran.
He also says, I'm not here to, break any of the commandments, but to fulfill them and to leave you with this commandment: love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? Do you accept that or no?
I accept that to be true, but I don't know if he said that.
So then, is that not a conflict there? Like, you accept it to be true, but you don't know if he said that?
Yeah, I accept that you should love your neighbor more than yourself. That's not generally that's correct. That's not like a bad ruling, but I don't know if Jesus Christ in fact said that out of his own mouth.
Okay, but what if he did?
If he did, there's no problem.
Okay. So, do you understand or accept that we as human beings love, because he loved us first. Like, he's the one that showed humanity compassion and love, that all the other Jews and Gentiles were just breaking commandments. Even the church leaders, the Pharisees and teachers, are all just committing sin and all corrupted. Granted, I will say that the Ishmaelites, clearly they had a better, direction to God. So when you say he's preaching the religion of Islam, I don't agree with that wording, I will say. He was preaching to serve and submit your will to the one and only God, is where I would kind of replace my wording for that word Islam. Does that make sense?
No, but listen, Chaplain. Can I get to the next guest, because there's 14 people requesting and they're all getting agitated because we've had an extensive conversation. Okay.
Okay, yeah, man. Hey, do what you got to do. Thank you, brother.
Hey, man. Yeah, no problem. I hope you have a great night, man. Thanks for coming up. All right. I seen you in the comments. Kabla Master.
Someone I'm gonna tell you the question. So he's asking, how Ibrahim and his son made the Kaaba? They built the Kaaba.
I don't hold to that position, but yeah.
He's asking.